All right, fellas. So I got this old snowblower that I sold recently, and it's been on the channel a little bit. I started to call it the Black Mamba, or the Orange in Black Mamba, and you'll see where I say that, where I coined it. I'm gonna just kind of close up the account, as it were, and I wanted to do one last video on it. You know, I probably got like 100 gigs worth of stuff, and like I said, I've published a little bit already. But then I took it to the next level last year and just sort of leveled it up. And then I sold it at the beginning of this past season for like $300, and I used it for several years, right? So I've had it for a while. So let's go back down memory lane, and we'll talk a bit about what this thing is and kind of why I want to just kind of condense it all. And I also want to put the question to, what is this thing? What is this unknown soldier, the unknown snowblower? We'll get a closer look at it. It looks like a lot of things that we're familiar with, and I think maybe one of you guys out there know exactly what it is. All right, you can see this thing's a real brute. Now, nice lever, right, to control the ground speed, big Briggs Tecumseh motor on it. Where do you see, I should have kept this part. Where do you see the pull starter on it? So there's a little teaser. Stay tuned, you'll see. Maybe I'm just pointing down, the belts are like rubber. I started cleaning up. This is before I cleaned it. It's pretty nasty. Notice the spring actuate, sort of the spring assist on the cables that control the auger and the transmission. Right? Keep note of that, because that's a way of dating the year of this. So, big Tecumseh engine. I don't remember, it was an 8 or 10 horsepower. You look inside the construction. It's filthy, but the construction of the transmission system, the gauge of the metal, just everything on this thing screams heavy. It's very heavy. It's a very, especially compared to the crappy piece of thing next to it, which I got rid of. You can kind of see it in the corner. And then back there is a Craftsman style, you know, Briggs overhead valve. All right, I got it all cleaned up. And now the key is I just brought it in the garage, and it was pretty lousy out. So I kind of cleaned out the gas tank a little bit, and a quick spray, drop the bowl in a carburetor, and just a quick spray up underneath there. Quick cleaning of the plug, nothing fancy. So let's go do a first run on it. 15, I think this was probably $15, $20. You're getting so many different things, potentially, right? And instead of putting it to full power, we'll bring it down a little bit. Hopefully this works okay. All right, we'll find out. See, it wants to run. Starts fine. You know, she's, you know, like the black and orange Mamba, this thing. You know, the orange and black Mamba. See, look
Generally,
at
I don't
that.
even like painting aluminum. I like it old-timey, you know, like this. So I just gave it a good cleaning. We're going to clear coat it when we're done with it.
Yeah. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm cleaning up the carburetor, and I just wanted to show you a little bit about sort of cleaning it what I did to it. Just a quick clean. Nothing fancy here. And going over the starter motor and a bunch of other things. Now, I already did a test on it. Right? So now I want to clean it up. Basic work on the coil. There's nothing fancy here. It had spark. Just, you know, get it good and clean. Gap it. And we're just going to run it again real fast, right? See, it's kind of cleaned up. I love being able to tune these things. It's not too bad. You loosen up the bottom bolts here. They're all the way down there, and then you have to remove the top. And so we'll have to reverse the procedure. Unfortunately, it's very heavy, and with one person, it's damn near impossible. Now, you just want to check the pulleys. Let's start off with just putting a little bit of grease into the grease fittings. It actually has grease fittings. Yeah, well, it's the only spot they had. So, a couple
It's
of
tight
pumps.
to get in, but by the way, this is
Yep,
before I had my lift table.
I heard it come out somewhere.
So we're going back a ways. Look at how nice this transmission is.
It was also.
I just slapped some belts on it. Now, I couldn't get the rims on. See, it won't move.
Yeah, too much friction for it. All right,
Yeah.
so that's not going to work.
Now, normally what I would do is I would bring it outside and I'd bring out the oxyacetylene and I'd cook it with that and then grab the hose and douse it, shock it, maybe do it 1 or 2 more times. It's outside, right? Make a mess out there. If you set it on fire, you take it over. You don't care, right? What I'm using right now is just an acetylene. It's like a plumber's head torch. It works all right, but, you know, I decided that it's not worth it. Let me move forward. And it had been snowing a lot, and I really wanted to test it. And it just wasn't necessary. Those tires are original. There's nothing wrong with them. They held air. So there's no reason to get any deeper in this. They do make an electrical tool that's a little safer. It's still hot, like super hot, but there's no open flame. But I don't have one of those. Those are luxuries. Eventually, I'll probably get one because it's nice to have for dealing with shafts like that. But I made the command decision. You know what? Some things, we're just going to keep moving forward on this thing. It is something I like to do, is get the tires off and the rims and deal with all of that. I've got the same problem, fellas, on the Arians, little Arians, like Resto I just did recently. We're going to have to do that at some point. So something like that it is important to do, but if there's really no really good reason to do it, then move forward. If I had to take the tires off, yeah, you could remove a tire and put it back on the machine. Yeah, you could do that. You could break the bead and pop a tube in if that was something you had to do and you couldn't get it off. It's not optimal. Let's keep going. Yeah, I'm done.
So we got this snowblower going. That's mine. So this is ready for the.
Did that come out nice?
Fight tomorrow. I'm gonna put this dog in the fight.
I think I finished that last year or 2 years ago.
That one back there,
now,
we're gonna
maybe.
do another time, and I think I've
I
decided.
threw that out. I shouldn't have gotten rid of
We
it.
got the plow
I should have
ready. This
saved
guy's
it.
ready to go. Just got to check the gas and oil. Decided to work with orange and black mamba and yellow. Right, so we're gonna make it a little bit prettier. Not much, but a little bit. Got my super clean. Thanks, super clean. So I'm just gonna put a little bit more on. I just did, and it's been soaking for a little bit. So I'm gonna grab my Scotch-Brite and just spritz a little bit on in a brush, go over a little bit more and rinse it, and then we'll get the acid on. See all that precipitate, right? That kind of dusty white, right? That's zinc. That's excellent, right? That keeps it from, flash rust. It did a nice job. I have some ideas for in there. I think we're going to try that first. Let me set up.
All right, so I did do some work in here last year, but it still needs some more. A little bit of bubblies or whatever. So I thought it might be a good idea to go in there with the wire wheel, just hit a few spots, not get crazy, just some of the stuff that's really flaking. And you can see a lot of it is really coming off. But this, let's give this a shot. This stuff goes in, gets to the rust, similar to what I sprayed before, but it's meant to be left on. It'll convert it and then turn it to a primer. And perfect for in here. So I'm going to go grab the wire wheel. I'm just going to hit some of these areas here where you can really see it. Nothing fancy. I've already lubed it last year. I don't know if I remember to check this, but we will check it another time before we're done. Maybe add a little bit more grease in, since I already used this machine a lot last year. I adjusted this. The barrel got really messed up, and put in last year. I put in a new scraper. Okay, because if you find a machine that barrel's really messed up, you can weld in a piece of steel or go buy a scraper and use that as a backing if you need to. Adjusted these; they don't need to be adjusted. And yeah, let's try this. Let's see what this product does. Because if it goes in and gets rid of a lot of this stuff, and it'll wick underneath the paint. So as long as you have most of this flaky stuff out of the way, it'll wick underneath, it'll convert it, and then it'll leave like a primer. Supposedly, now, I have used it before, but let's see how good it does. All right, just a little bit more of a cleanup, right? Again, I don't want to get full Karen on it. So I'm just gonna shake it up, and I mean, I haven't used this can in a very long time. Does it work? Yeah, it works. Wow. I like this because you can kind of shoot it. We're just gonna boop, boop, shoot it. Watch, it's gonna go across the shop right on my computer. I just like that, right? It's gonna get in. Now, we don't really want to get it on too much of the painted areas. Oh, I'm really liking this. So I'd say this is about a coat and a half, right? Any area that I saw as I was turning it, up in there, right? I gave it a little bit more of a spritz. It looked a little dry. Make sure it gets in underneath the paint in different positions. Let it drain in there. I think we're done with this. I'm pretty happy with the results. All right, got all up in there, all up in there, all of the areas along the handle, anything that, I don't want to play with, down in here. All right, now we're going to do something a little bit different for this part down there. Let's set that up. All right, here's the layout for today. So I'm going to use my DA, whatever pad's on there, right? We'll burn that up. I tried it by hand a little bit, and it's actually sanding pretty decent. So I'm just going to do the top areas that you see, and then we're going to come over and we're going to use some Kirker urethane primer surfacer because it's kind of thick. And I think this old girl here, this old gun's been good to me. A DeVilbiss I put together with a different nozzle on it. It's fairly large. It's like an 8.0, I believe. Although I don't know if, can I see that? I've used it before for priming and painting automotive, and it did my Nova and a bunch of other things before I had the new gun set up. It should be thick enough to do what we need to do. Plus, I don't care. It's also, I can leave paint in it. I can just do a quick clean and spray it out. It's more forgiving than the high volume, low pressure. Use that, and then we're going to go to whatever's in here. Hopefully there's still some in there and it's not gone. And then same thing, if I need any, we'll use that too, if I need it. I'm probably not going to need it. I don't know what it said. Couldn't read it, but let's get it off.
That just looks cheesy. Somebody painted over it. And of course we have some old stickers that were painted over up here. Probably had a throttle over here and a key switch. We don't need that. Although a key switch wouldn't be bad, or on off over here, but we have it on the machine. That's it. Keeping it simple, keeping it real. All right, it's all clean, blowed off. All right, getting to the end of the day. So I hand sanded it with like 36 just to, you know, knock off any snots. Then D8 it with 80. And you'd be surprised whenever you put primer like this on, it's weird. It kind of like raises the nap. It just does. It's a surfacer, so you're changing the dynamics of the whole surface. And then when you come back and you sand, yeah, it comes out. Weird stuff like fuzzes up, like any paint that kind of is issues on the edge, you'll see it'll lift. You know, the old paint, it'll lift, it'll knurl. It's weird. It's cool because it, you know. So this is basically done. You could go right to paint with this, but I'm not going to. I'm going to next level it. Why? Well, because the gun has already got primer in it, and there are a few areas that it could use a little bit more prime. So I'm going to go with a thin coat. We're not going to lay on it and go with a thick coat, you know, because I wanted to get it surfaced. So I'm going to go with a thinner coat, make, you know, things more uniform. While I was here, I took some hand sandpaper and I tried to get in a little bit closer in a few spots, things that I thought I missed. Right? Not everything, but just like the obvious or the stuff that's just not right. I'm going to just mix up a little bit more paint, blow it on, clean out the paint gun, and tomorrow's another day. So there's just a few spots on here. There's some pitting, and then whatever this paint or sticker might have been. And again, it feels rough again after you, even though I sanded it, and then you spray, it can do that. So I know it's late, but I like to use this Bondo spot glazing putty. It's not really the professional stuff that I generally use. It doesn't. This one I couldn't find one with the hardener recently, but it does work very well. We got a little something in that. It takes a while to dry, but since I can dry it overnight, it's perfect for stuff like this, and it'll make most of this just disappear. Look at that, it's almost already gone. Do a light sanding in the morning, and it is actually starting to dry. But to be sandable, you got to give it like an hour or whatever. A lot of times I just like to go overnight. We're not going to go down too far. We don't care about what's down here so much. So this machine's probably late 70s or very early 80s by its... I don't even know what it is, right? The tag is gone. It doesn't really look like anything I'm familiar with, but who knows? Do you guys have any ideas? I don't think it's an Ariens. Alright, it's a couple of days later, because I've been busy. I took yesterday off. Just do a quick walk around. So now I'm going to sand it with 160, 180. I forget what it is. But most of it was done with 80 grit on the DA and rougher sandpaper by hand. And now I'm going to hit it. Like there's a little blemish up here. And you'll get that, right? We might actually fix that real quick. So now I'm going to hit it with the DA, and we'll go over it one more time just to get everything smooth. Remove it, and if I see anything like up there that I missed, I'll hit that real quick. And we're going to start painting it with rusty metal primer to get everything nice, one uniform color, a lot closer to the color that we're going to paint it. I'm just going to go very lightly, right, with this grit, right? Doesn't need much. You could do this by hand. Yeah, see how it gets it? It's almost done. Put the get in there by hand. I'm just going to hand sand this area. I've been hand sanding it, which is all I really need to do. And there's definitely enough material on this spot here that I put down on this console control panel. It's much better. It's a little wavy, but a lot of the yuck is gone. I mean, it was pretty ugly. This is the areas that you're going to see, you know. And I think somebody will be, you know, you want them to be something of a proud owner. I mean, there's a lot of people that, you know, we can't afford as homeowners, especially if you're a new homeowner, right? Like a lot of my customers like this stuff, and they're you know, they'll be relatively proud to own it. It'll look nice. It'll work good. It's a big old heavy machine. It's very durable. Let me vacuum this off. Now I got to clean up. Right, I'm basically done sanding, and you know, if I see a little spot, but there's dust everywhere. All the bags got to come off and be shaken, and everything got to be vacuumed and cleaned up. I don't like dust anyway. It's nasty. It's harmless for the most part. Wear a mask if you're doing a lot. I don't like to blow, so we're going to wash it with a nice soapy rag and some soapy water. Very little bit of soap, a little bit of Dawn, and then after that we'll blow. Look, I got it all over the camera too. All right, so now everybody has probably their own way of doing it, but what I like to do is I like to punch a few spots in the rim where this fits into, the recess, and that allows me to wipe it down with a rag later on and push some of the extra into the holes so it doesn't all roll over and make a mess. And then later, for just a little added extra seal, I put a little tin foil, and that helps with removing it, because if this, let's say I don't use this for a while, I want to be able to come back to it. I got cans of paint that are 25 years old, 30 years old, and they come back good. And these products usually do all right because they have an oil in them. And if you can get that oil to rise back up to the surface, it'll provide a seal. Especially the rusty metal primer will do that. That oil will come up to the surface, and it'll seal the paint below, keep it from drying. And if this lid gets stuck, it's easy for me to get the lid off without destroying the can or causing problems, because there's just this light foil in the way, and it'll just release. Now you can also use saran wrap, but I find that the tin foil works pretty good. I'm not sure if one's better than the other. Right? You know, leave a comment.